This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
You're listening to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is brought to you by Mountain Glass Arts. For the month of July 2018, Mountain Glass is offering their Boro sale, Chinese rod and tube, color and clear at 40% off. No coupon code is required. All you have to do is go in there and place your order, and it automatically adjusts the pricing. And for all you beautiful soft glass nerds out there, they have their double helix sale going on right now. The coupon code is DHELIX, that's DHELIX. You'll receive 15% off their sale. If you received an email from them, you will see in their email it said 40% off. That was a typo on there. It's actually 15% off. And again, just use the coupon code DHELIX. And for any other questions, comments, or concerns, updated sales on torches, kilns, and their monthly updates on new color coming in, just go to mountainglass.com. That's mountainglass.com. So until next time, any questions, comments, or concerns for them, just give them a call, or you can go to mountainglass.com. That's mountainglass.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, back on the road edition. Haven't done one of these episodes in a while, and I figured now that I have this new phone that has memory in it, and the microphone's better and everything else, I figured I would sit here and talk a little bit to you. I'm on the way to St. Pete from Orlando, which is about an hour and a half drive or so, to go pick up my son. Him and I are going to go to Kennedy Space Center today. I haven't been to Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral in general since I was his age, and he's 10, 11 next month. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see this place, not only from my perspective, but also from his perspective. And super excited about it. Basically driving from the middle of the state to the west coast of the state, and then back to the middle of the state, and then going to the east coast of the state. It's going to be a lot of damn driving today. But that being said, I want to talk to you today about finances and income and the ebbs and flows of business when it comes to being a full-time artist. Recently, in some past episodes that we've had on, we've had some newer artists on that are, a couple of them have gone full-time, but most of them that I've been interviewing have not. They've gone full-time per se, but they still have a job. And that's what I want to talk to you today about is other sources of income and revenue besides your glass. And this kind of came to an idea for me from several different areas. From one, I was listening to a podcast, Tim Ferriss, the other day, and he had a guest on who was talking about her whole philosophy that as an artist, it's so important that if you can keep your day job, if you already have one, to go ahead and keep your day job. Unless you really hate it, then sure, do what you can to get out of it. But if you don't hate it, then there's really no point in quitting that job. You can even cut back part-time. And the reason that is it allows you as an artist to not worry about paying your bills. It's nothing worse, like I've talked about in past episodes, than standing behind your torch or trying to be creative and you're stressing out about paying your rent or feeding your family or whatever. And if you have an income coming in as a paycheck source that's consistent, then that stress can be alleviated, and it allows you to be clear and have a nice flow state that you can then get into your art and actually create art. Now, I do say all the time that it is ideal and important to do production early on in your career as a glass artist, not only because it's a good source of income, but also because it teaches you the material. Now, it also helps you to fine-tune your work, find your style, find your voice in your stuff. It gives you a chance to experiment with colors. There's so many different important things involved in doing production early on. And while you're doing your production early on, you can then start to find outsources and outlets for your glass to sell, learn the ins and outs of your business, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and then potentially down the road, give it a couple of years, then you can quit your job. Now, kind of backtrack a little bit, listening to Dave Ramsey, having listened to him now for years, and he's also one of the main people out there in the space of podcasting and finances and stuff that inspired me to do this podcast, to talk to you as in the glass artist community about this kind of stuff. And these are principles that I'm still learning myself, but have learned and are continuing to learn how to implement them into my life as well. I want to be able to practice what I preach, in that sense. But really what he talks about is to create a runway for yourself, 90 days, whatever that you can. And a runway is basically a chunk of savings that's going to allow you to then quit your day job so that if you have a shitty month or a couple shitty months, you have money put away to cover your bills. He always refers to the emergency fund, which is $1,000 to get started. But typically Dave Ramsey, the emergency fund he refers to is 90 days of your expenses. So if you want to quit your day job, what you need to do is sit down and truly think about not your debt, but what your actual monthly bills are. Everything, whether you have a car payment, your gas, your food, a really true monthly budget, just to get an idea of how much a month you have to put out in terms of all your bills. This can also be your entertainment. Like, just think of everything that you do, write that shit down on paper, and then look at maybe a bank statement from the previous month to get a baseline calculation on how much it's going to cost to survive that month. And then with that budget, you get through the first month. If you get in the habit, if you can, of writing down your expenses when you spend money, or maybe once a week you can go into your bank statement and then go in and put the numbers in for that particular week, or you can wait till the end of the month and then just do the same thing. But it gives you a chance to really fine-tune your budget. And it takes about 90 days to really get your budget tuned in. Things will come up that you forgot about, etc. Once you get that budget figured out, it's going to give you then a pretty good platform to look at to then understand how much money that you need to really truly put away. If you're spending, say, $4,000, $5,000 a month on bills and entertainment and stuff, it's also going to give you a chance to see where you're wasting money at. Like myself personally, I didn't realize how much money I was spending at fucking Starbucks. At $3 to $4 to $5 a cup of coffee, even though I get discounts at work because it's at least it depends on where I'm at, but it doesn't matter. I've stopped spending my money there because I realized I was literally spending around $200 a month in coffee, and a lot of my money I was spending was going towards beverages, and not even alcohol, but just drinks, water, coffee, just that kind of shit. And now I make it at home and I bring it to work. But that being said, it's going to give you an idea to, again, you say you spend $4,000 a month on all your bills, then that means that you need to have at least $12,000 put away in a savings account before you even think about quitting your job. And again, this will help to allow you to then get out of that job or go part-time and then become a full-time glass artist. And I also suggest that, again, don't necessarily quit your day job until you're consistently making at least, say, $4,000 a month through your glass, because that's what your budget is, that's what your base needs are. So there's kind of different ways of going about it, but that's just some thought about that. But the whole point of this is to not quit that day job. And that goes into saying, just because, again, creative ideas allows to flow. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little distracted here with my thoughts because I'm in traffic right now. But, yeah, so just think about that kind of stuff. Think about, if you have a job, keep it. That way you can go home on your days off or before you go into work or after you get off, and you can go in the studio and you can fuck around for a couple hours. Or you can go out and crank out an order, that kind of stuff. And I know myself, when I started working at Disney, I was literally getting up at 5 a.m. almost every day. I would work on my torch until about 9 a.m.-ish, and I had to be at work at noon, and I was driving an hour and 45 minutes in. So I knew that by 9 o'clock I had to stop, I'd take a shower, I'd then head out to work, get to work at noon, I'd get off at 9, and then be home by 11, and then I'd be asleep in bed by midnight. Some nights I would actually come home and finish that order. I would actually leave my kiln on all day, or have my now ex-wife turn the kiln on for me. So when I got home, it was nice and hot and ready to go. And these are different ways you can go about making this work for you, so that you can continue to work a job, and is also then, be able to do your art at home. It also depends on your situation too. If you don't want to be a full-time artist, or you do want to be a full-time artist, it just depends on what you want to do. But something myself personally that I've recently come across, which is something that was new to me, is my roommate recently has moved out, and I now have the house to myself. And she's given me the opportunity to Airbnb out the side of the house that she was staying in. And the way our house layout is basically set up is we have, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It has a kitchen and a dining room that separates the two sides of the house. And basically we have 2 separate bedrooms with baths, obviously. There's 2 different living room situations. They both have TVs in it. Both areas have private entrances. So her and I talked about it, and I have begun to Airbnb out the side of the house that she was living in. And I wasn't sure at first how it was going to go, or how easy it was going to be to do. Myself personally, I've stayed in Airbnbs, and I really enjoyed the experience, and I love the idea of the concept of it. I also enjoy myself hosting people, whether it's friends or family, having parties and get-togethers. And for me personally, this has allowed me to kind of scratch that itch, in a sense, to host people and to give them an experience when they stay at my place. Last night, here it is right now. It's Sunday. I think it's like July 24th or some shit. But last night was the first guest I had stayed. They checked out this morning. I go get my son. We're going to head back to the house. We're going to clean up real quick, change the sheets, vacuum the floor, make sure the place is ready for the next guests. And I am now officially literally booked out for the rest of July and the first half of August. And the point of this is listening to a podcast. I found a couple shows on Airbnbs, and this one guy was talking about the fact that when he started his Airbnb, he's living up in Manhattan. He's got an expensive apartment, but it's a small apartment. And he started off renting out his couch. And there's different variations of these type of share apps out there, like Airbnb. I think there's one called Couchsurfing that you can literally rent out your couch. Now, being in Manhattan, his rates can be charged. He can charge a little bit more. So he was charging $100 a night just to allow people to come to his place and crash on his couch. And he literally began to get booked out for the entire month at a time. So he then went and bought some air mattresses, put air mattresses on his floor, got some comfortable air mattresses, and rented out those fucking air mattresses for $100 each. So in his living room, he had a couch and 3 air mattresses, and every day he was bringing in an extra $400 renting out this place to sleep. Now, if you're in a situation where you own your house, even if you have an apartment, now this also depends on where you live. Not every area allows this kind of stuff. And Airbnb is pretty good about helping keep track of local ordinances and laws and rules and stuff that you can do research with. But again, this allows just kind of an idea to put in your head of finding other revenue streams, even if you Uber or you do a food delivery service. Little things like that on the side that will allow you to help bring in some income with a really minimal amount of effort and work can pay off huge dividends in the end. Not only does it help you to supplement your income and relieve the stress of, having to sit behind the torch for 20 hours and crank a bunch of shit out so you can feed yourself and pay your power bill, but it's just, if you're full-time, even a full-time artist, this is something that you can do. If you put your phone, say you're doing Uber and you put your phone on and you're in your studio and you're making something, then all of a sudden your phone pings at you, and then you're like, okay, time to go make a delivery, or time to go pick somebody up and go drop them off. You can then go back home and go back to work. And that little drive you just made, you made about $25. I have a couple friends that've been doing Uber, and they're making about $100 to $150 a day just doing the Uber food delivery services. So there's a bunch of them. There's Dash. There's a lot of different areas out there. And the way that the technology and the way that the social sharing and everything is going right now, this is the wave of the future, and the wave, in a sense, of for you to jump on while it's fresh. And even though Airbnb's been around for a while, and I think I heard the other day that they're now like a $7 or $8 billion company, which is fucking crazy. But if you enjoy people, or even if you don't, but you enjoy the idea of not being stressed out, trying to, pay your bills, this is a really good thing for you to check out. And it's all about your mindset. It's all about setting things up. And again, it's not for everybody, but I wanted to share this because this is something that I've recently experienced. And this is going to allow me to basically live where I'm living at right now, rent-free. And then once I move out, I have a townhouse that I'm getting into in January. Then I'm going to go ahead and Airbnb the entire house out. And then from there, my roommates moved in with her fiance, and they're going to be getting their own place, and I'm going to run his place and manage his property. And it's all done from my phone. So it's kind of, really not a whole lot of setup. With the Airbnb thing, you got to take some pictures, you got to write a little post. There's things you got to do to get it set up initially. But once that initial time is spent to set your stuff up, you're set. It's like getting a bunch of points pulled in the morning or color prep done. Once all that prep is done, which is a pain in the ass, and it's out of the way, then you can begin your production, and that's when you begin to make your money. This is all the same damn thing. And I've literally spent an entire day just cleaning the house, moving furniture around, taking pictures, making sure the pictures are all good, doing some write-ups on the house and the area, doing a little research. Like I said, I looked up a podcast. I just went into my iTunes app and just put in Airbnb, and I found a ton of podcasts that talk about Airbnb. Anything you can think of that you're interested in, hence why I have a Glass podcast I've been doing for 4 years now. You can find knowledge and information, and for people that are doing it that may or may not be successful at it, but at least they know. I can't say all of them because I have heard some shows that these people are full of shit. But that being said, there is information out there to help you, and all you have to do is do the work. That's what it comes down to, is just doing the work. So, I don't know. I can go on for longer about it, but I don't really think that there's much else to say. But again, think about it. To set yourself up early on, get a budget going, see what you're making, try to start putting, not even try, but just start putting money away, even if it's $50 a week or $25 a week, it's $100 a month. Whatever it is you can put away to start saving up for that little cushion that you can put away for yourself, that 90-day emergency fund to help pay your bills. And then you're not stressing about the bills being paid if you get injured or if you can't work or your kiln breaks or whatever. Also, it's nice just to have that money in the savings. But also, if you have a job, keep your day job until you can consistently make income for 90 days straight. And that's consistent. Every month you're making not just enough to pay your bills, but enough to pay your bills and also to put money away and also to live the lifestyle that you want to live, which is what this whole show and the whole idea of being a glassblower is all about. You're probably not behind the torch because you just want to pay your bills. You're behind the torch because you enjoy what you're doing. Even if it is just a money source for you, it's a money source, a revenue stream that you can make a shit ton of money at if you do it properly. But it takes time, it takes dedication, and it takes the freedom from being stressed out while you're behind the torch. And I promise there's nothing worse than being stressed out behind the torch. It never works. So, there you go. If you have any questions or information that you need about it, getting set up for like an Airbnb or what have you, definitely feel free to reach out to me. You can hit me up, wiseguymedia@gmail.com. And so there you go. I'm going to start doing more of these episodes on the road now that I know that this app is working again. The last phone, the app, my memory was full, but the app also wasn't updated and working like it is now. So, yeah, there you go. And I can't edit my rambles out, so deal with them. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you can deal with the background static noise and my ramblings, but something I've been wanting to share for a couple days, and I figured I'm on the road for an hour and a half, and I'm going to share it with you. So there you go. Again, as I always preach to you, make sure you're staying hydrated. It is hot as shit out there right now, and nothing worse than being dehydrated. So stay hydrated, stay healthy and happy, and have a wise day. We'll talk to you soon.